so many people jumping on today. Thank you all. We'll begin here in about 20 seconds. So I just see a few other people jumping on. All right, it's 12 o'clock, so we'll begin. Good afternoon all and welcome. Thank you for joining our virtual event today. My name is Ren Good, Communications Manager for the City of Wetaskiwin, and I'm your virtual MC. As we prepare for today's exciting announcement, we respectfully acknowledge we are on Treaty 6 territory, the ancestral and traditional gathering place for many Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, and many others whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our community and way of life. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and pay our respects to those who have gone before us. Yesterday was National Indigenous Peoples Day across Canada, and we hope you spent the day celebrating the diverse and vibrant cultures of the many Indigenous peoples who call this land home. We also recognize that yesterday's celebrations were tinged with grief due to the recent discoveries of hundreds of unmarked graves at former residential school sites across the nation. These discoveries are yet another devastating reminder of the reality of this colonial narrative that we are all grappling with. The city joins our community and country in mourning and honoring the memories of these victims, and we continue to stand in solidarity with our Indigenous partners, friends, and neighbors as we collectively come to terms with the realities and ongoing impact of colonialism. During today's event, a lot of what we'll be sharing is about our history, our present, and the envisioned future of all Wetaskiwinites. We're going to share how the city is embracing the story you helped shape during the 50-year community visioning process, and how this was foundational in the development of what we are sharing with you today. You are all a part of this story, which is why we invited the community at large to attend and made this virtual event as accessible as possible by holding it over the lunch hour. Thank you for taking the time to share in this exciting journey. The land on which Wetaskiwin was founded has a long history of community and connectivity going back many generations. A lot has changed from then until now, and change is an inevitable part of our collective story. How we envision the next 50 years and work together to fulfill that vision is another chapter in this story. You already know that Wetaskiwin has heart, that it's a special place to live, work, visit, and do business. But not everyone knows this, and the city needed a new way to tell that story to those looking to live or work in our community. I'll let Mayor Tyler Gandam, Paul Edgington from the City of Wetaskiwin, Dr. Karen Aberle from the Wetaskiwin and District Heritage Museum Center tell you more about this shortly. Before they do, a couple of quick housekeeping items. First, this virtual event is being recorded. Second, other than the speakers, we'll be muting everyone to keep audio noise to a minimum during the speaking program, which should run about 40 minutes. During the presentation, I invite you to type your questions or comments into the Zoom chat function at any time, though we will not be answering any questions until the Q&A portion of the event. If you want to address your question to a specific speaker, please state this when submitting your question through the chat. I will do my best to field questions in the order they are received once we start the Q&A. Due to the lunch hour time constraint, only questions placed in the chat will be considered for responses during this virtual event. If we don't get to your question, please rest assured that we are collecting all questions posed through the chat and will provide answers to each one on our website in short order at wetaskiwin.ca/we. All right, lots of items to share, so let's get this underway. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, City of Wetaskiwin Mayor Tyler Gandam.
Thank you, Ren, and thanks to everyone for joining us today, including our speakers. It's good to see so many familiar names and faces here. I want to start off by applauding the 1,150 Wetaskiwinites who participated in the city's 50-year visioning process, which began last September and was completed in February. To put it another way, about 10% of our population shared what they envisioned for Wetaskiwin in 50 years. Without your input, Wetaskiwin, we couldn't have confidently made it to where we are finding ourselves today. Today, we reimagine how we tell Wetaskiwin's story, our story, to the world. Just as people change, so does our community and its story. There will be a need to update and evolve that story over time. If we look at our current brand, which was developed in 2011, from a logo perspective, it puts the city's water tower at the center of Wetaskiwin's story. Today, when a place promotes itself, familiar landmarks or icons aren't nearly as memorable to those who don't know about our community. We all know the water tower exists, but a brand, especially a bold and modern brand, should reflect the values of those who call Wetaskiwin home and the opportunities our community provides. In our case, our story was informed by a significant portion of the community through our community visioning process. And from a mayor's perspective, this is a dream come true because you built this. This new brand is the city aligning with the community's vision and not the other way around, as is so often done. To use a current example, and maybe not the most popular one, let's look at the Edmonton Elks. It took a long start and stop process that involved fans and engaging with communities to change the name of the Edmonton Eskimos to the Edmonton Elks. And that was just a name. I guess the jury is still out in terms of whether the end result was the favored option. But that happens. Not everyone loves a new look or a name. And this is why it's important to emphasize the community feedback involved, because you truly own it. Now let's look at the why. Why does a place like Wetaskiwin need to undergo a 50-year community visioning and then develop a new visual identity or brand? Well, the answer has a lot to do with the fact that while we are growing and evolving, our community has unequivocally stated that we aspire to thrive, to prosper together. One of the issues that's always top of mind for me is how we keep our city sustainable for the long term. And the key to that is keeping the residents, businesses, neighbors, and visitors who live, work, and play in Wetaskiwin here. Attracting new residents, new businesses, and new visitors is equally important. We want current and prospective residents to know that Wetaskiwin is everything they need a vibrant urban center to be, within an easy distance to outdoor tranquility or adventure. Only a city this interconnected with nature truly lets you live in and appreciate the most of both worlds. We want current and prospective businesses to know it's easier to connect with policymakers who are open to ideas that enhance our city and who are motivated to support their growth. We want them to be confident that our resilient economy ensures we are open for and to business. We heartily invite our neighboring communities to benefit from the easy access to the services, amenities, and opportunities Wetaskiwin brings to the region, and that, when we are supporting one another, we all thrive. We want visitors to know that as one of the province's oldest cities, Wetaskiwin's historic charm delights visitors as much as our easygoing nature. We want visitors to explore our region, which is steeped in a true frontier spirit from the comfort and convenience of our welcoming city. But a new brand is useful for a municipal organization too. As we manage our growth as an organization, it is incredibly important to remain consistent in style, look, and voice. A strong brand will enable the city of Wetaskiwin to communicate with clarity, unity, and professionalism. This means that we mean business and are unified in our mandate of serving the community. On the flip side, what if we didn't use the feedback from the 50-year vision to inform the brand strategy and refresh? Not rebranding the city after uncovering the community's story and vision for our collective future would be like renovating the whole interior of your house, but ignoring the curb appeal, which in this case is the logo and the brand. We all know curb appeal is what turns heads and piques interest. In city terms, we need to attract people with our new brand and then show them we are worthy of their attention and investment. And believe me, we are. I want to highlight that none of this would have been possible without the significant community feedback received throughout the visioning initiative. Your experiences, hopes, and vision for our community brought Wetaskiwin's story back to life. This led to a bold brand strategy for promoting our amazing city as a great place to live, work, visit, and conduct business. Your city is behind you. You built this. This new brand is the city aligning with your vision. It makes me tremendously proud to be your mayor, friend, and neighbor. You, Wetaskiwin, have a lot of heart, and we have a lot to share. Thank you. Before I go, a few more thank yous. Thank you to Paul Edgington, Acting City Manager and Director of Community and Protective Services, for falling in love with Wetaskiwin. I'm going to get you to move here from Leduc. Also, Leduc Mayor Bob Young keeps my $50 if you don't, just saying. I also want to thank McKim Communications Group for their hard work on the brand strategy. Thank you, Dr. Karen Aberley, for your passion, knowledge, and for being an ambassador for the 50-year visioning project. Thank you as well to all of our amazing community visioning ambassadors for their time, dedication, and vision for a better future.
Thank you, Mayor Gandam, for your inspiring words and commitment to this community vision. And you're right. Wetaskiwin does have a lot to share. Our next speaker is Paul Edgington, Acting City Manager and Director of Community and Protective Services. Mayor Gandam already mentioned heart, and that's what Paul contributes to our city. You could say Paul has a soft spot for Wetaskiwin, which makes his story all the more compelling because he's not a resident, but a neighbor who works here. If we want to look at Paul's relationship to Wetaskiwin from purely a branding perspective, we'd want to zone in on his perceptions as a potential resident. So I hope he'll give us some insights today. Like Mayor Gandam, I'm also trying to get Paul to eventually move here. And maybe our new brand is what we need to finally convince him. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce Paul Edgington and welcome him to share his Wetaskiwin story.
Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you to Mayor Gandam and Ren for your introductions. And yes, thanks for pointing out that I don't live here. My house is approximately 30 minutes away, but I'm here most of the time anyways. But you're right, I do have a soft spot for Wetaskiwin. People, the history, and my job. I've been working here for just over a year now. In fact, it's a year today, which is amazing. And before I get into all the things that I love about this city, I want to know that it comes from my experiences here so far, as well as from being involved in the 50-year community vision. For those of you who don't know me, I am a list guy. And those of you attending who also like lists will perhaps appreciate my organized approach to itemizing what I have learned about Wetaskiwin and what I love about this community. Coming from an outside perspective, I can tell you that the city's current brand does not do justice to the story and vision developed by this community through the visioning process. And I am very excited to be part of this new chapter in Wetaskiwin's story. So on that note, here is my top 7 list of things I've learned about and love about Wetaskiwin. Number 1, I wasn't aware of the vast history that existed in the area, nor the significance of the stories as they relate to both our province and Canada's broader history. The more I learn about this, the more I am in awe, and the more I continue to educate myself and learn. Number 2, and for those of you that have run into me since I started, and what I can't stop talking about here is the food. The food in this town is incredible. I haven't run the numbers, but I'm pretty sure we have the best comfort food per capita in the province. Go ahead and try to prove me wrong, or at least take me out for lunch. I'm fine with either. I'm looking forward to trying more of these fantastic restaurants in the future. And with COVID restrictions loosening up, if you want to go for lunch, give me a call. Number 3, the community visioning process taught me a lot about the history of the land and the 4 Cree nations to the south and west of Wetaskiwin. I think this community has an opportunity to build strong relationships with these Indigenous people, both in Wetaskiwin and the area, and I'm looking forward to being a big part of these conversations moving forward. Number 4, the architecture and history of our buildings is nearly unparalleled. Not a lot of small cities and towns kept their historic buildings. Wetaskiwin did and is benefiting from that. It shows that history matters and that this community remembers the past as it moves into the future. Number 5, comforts of the big city in a small town. I love being able to grab either a Booster Juice or a Starbucks as much as the next guy, but also love supporting local. Wetaskiwin has something for everybody, and you can find what you need without having to venture into Edmonton. Number 6, and for those of you that know landscaping and gardening is a huge pastime of mine, I'm in love with the tree canopy, green space, and nature. It's incredible. Being able to step into the woods within 5 minutes from anywhere in Wetaskiwin is amazing. I wasn't aware how many trees there were in the area until I started commuting regularly. And number 7, and the thing that I think is stood out for me is one of the most significant is the people here. Wetaskiwinites are some of the most friendly people that I've come across in my municipal career, or even in my life. I run into people from Wetaskiwin. I'm sure we all have from time to time. And what you get to know about Wetaskiwinites is they generally care and get involved regularly in their community. The people that live here are so proud to be here, and the sense that everyone watches out for the neighbors here really stands out. So that is my top 7 list, and I'm sure I could have made top 10 had I had a bit more time. I want to thank the city team and the community at large for welcoming me here with open arms and sharing what it means to be a part of this community.
Thank you, Paul. It's truly inspiring to see all the corporate and community support at this early stage. Thanks for all your involvement and insights. Our next speaker is Dr. Karen Aberle. As stated earlier, Karen is Executive Director and Chief Curator of Wetaskiwin and District's Heritage Museum Center. As a community visioning ambassador, she played a huge role in the visioning process. She was also involved in every focus group held and brings a wealth of historical knowledge to the table. Because the human inhabited history of this land goes back 500 generations, it plays a significant role in where we've been and where we're going. As Executive Director and Chief Curator of the Heritage Museum Center, Karen is now going to provide some insight on the history of this land, now known as Wetaskiwin. Welcome and thank you for joining us today, Dr. Aberle.
Thanks, Ren. I'm not sure I'd always say it's a pleasure working with me, but it has been a pleasure working with all of you. And I just want to say we were making sort of some jokes earlier because I'm in this world of I couldn't quite get the vision in. So you've got all of my loves, you've got Rome, you've got my Indigenous clothing that I wear, and I'm in my office, the birds are singing, and we're all going to pray that the dog doesn't lose her mind while I'm talking. So I'd like to acknowledge what a privilege it is to live, work, and volunteer on Treaty 6 territory and the Métis homeland. In 1877, 143 years ago this September, Chief Bobtail had a vision. He signed Treaty 6 for the benefit of all people who live in the treaty territory, First Nations, Métis, settlers, and newcomers alike. We are all treaty people, and I am committed to fulfilling my treaty responsibilities. In many ways, I see our new community vision as a renewed commitment to these responsibilities, and I can't express how exciting it is to be here today. As Mayor Gandam said, Wetaskiwinites have a lot to be proud of, not only for their involvement, but also for who they are. And so does the city team. There's a lot of bravery and energy wrapped up in a project like this. You asked for and got our community's input. I know some of it was not easy to hear. I was one of those people, but you listened. You want our community to be the biggest beneficiaries, and I truly believe we will be. As has been said, there's an incredible history here, and it's rich. It is what brought me to Wetaskiwin 8 years ago, but it is the people and our spirit that have made me stay and make it my home. On May 9th, the city of Wetaskiwin celebrated 115 years of incorporation. Of course, the history of our area goes back much further. Oral traditions tell us the land has been inhabited for 500 generations. And archaeological evidence dates back at least 8,000 years through this corridor exactly. The area has long been known as Wetaskiwin Istatanaw due to a treaty made between the Nihiwak, or Cree, and the Niitsitapi, or Blackfoot, prior to colonization. We're all familiar with the legend of 2 young warriors sharing a peace pipe, and that is the most popular version of how we got our name. But I've also heard that this is The name is a reference to Chief McKim, who was from this area and was well respected throughout a large territory as a peacemaker. Commonly, the name of our city and county of Wetaskiwin is translated as the hills or place of peace. But a more literal translation of the name fits nicely with this vision. The Cree word Wetaskiwin is a natural law. It reflects an idea of coming or being together on the land in peace and harmony. Another way I heard it saying or meaning was that learning to live on the land together, or when you greet your neighbor every day, that is Wetaskiwin. The city of Wetaskiwin has been built on this spirit throughout its history, as is our new branding. When I moved to Wetaskiwin, I had a 5-year plan to move on. At that 5-year point, I purchased a house for the first time. The people of Wetaskiwin City, County, and Musqueam shared their community with me. It made me proud to call this place my home. In return, I'm committed to making Wetaskiwin the best it can be. I invite all of you on this call today and throughout our community to join me in becoming an ambassador of this community-inspired visual identity. Let's use it as a mantra. Let's use it as a blueprint to achieve what we all want and make Wetaskiwin the city we share. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aberle. Your wisdom and insight on what this means for our community and its future was incredibly enlightening. Thank you. I'm thrilled to announce that we have now reached the brand identity reveal portion of this event. I'll ask that our team now play the video introducing our new city identity to the community.
We're going to start by talking about Wetaskiwin's existing visual identity, or logo, which is obviously a graphic representation of the water tower, the highest structure in the city. Wetaskiwin's tower is somewhat distinctive because it's known as the oldest operating water tower in Canada, except it's actually no longer operational. And there are many water towers in communities across Alberta, about 36 in total in the province and many more across the country. Some towers in Alberta feature prominently in municipal communications and have become associated with that community. And in fact, some water towers have become iconic to some of those places and have become integrated subtly or more prominently into the visual vocabulary of how that city expresses its identity, or even as prominent components of their official logos. And when a community develops a logo leaning on its most prominent and identifiable physical feature certainly makes sense because for those who live here, it feels like home. And having Canada's oldest water tower certainly highlights that Wetaskiwin is one of Alberta's oldest cities, and that is something worth talking about. But as an icon, the water tower simply doesn't set Wetaskiwin apart from the many other communities in Alberta whose identities are also associated with a water tower. And the communications team at the City of Wetaskiwin knew that setting the city apart and creating a distinct identity is vital to developing a new approach for promoting the city. Through the Wetaskiwin Visioning Initiative, 1,150 community members were consulted. And the majority of participants in that process certainly demonstrated that we want to see real and meaningful change, that we want to see our city celebrated, that we want to create a foundation for growth that's built around the character and values at the heart of this community. Values that reflect who we are and a commitment to realizing the vision for Wetaskiwin we want to see. Values like respect for all our neighbors, relationship with the land, diversity and inclusion, and a commitment to connecting through the arts, culture, history, and heritage of this place to bring the community together. The visioning inspired how we describe the character of Wetaskiwin as down to earth, because our deep connection with and respect for the land remains a source of strength that keeps us grounded. As hopeful, because our wholehearted belief in the promise of a peaceful, inclusive, and thriving community is boundless. And as collaborative, because our unwavering commitment to working together to create a city that works for everyone is clear. That collaborative character and genuine commitment to connect with one another is the foundation of Wetaskiwin's new approach. The idea that we want to celebrate our welcoming nature, to share the experiences that bring us together as a community, where lasting friendships and partnerships are forged. Not only is there a connection with each other in Wetaskiwin, we also have a deep-rooted connection with the land, intertwined with a generational story of our rich agricultural heritage and indigenous origins that reach back many generations. So all this meaning is what inspired our new brand expression, including our inspirational name origins, learning to live on the land together. This new approach for our visual identity is intended to anchor how we promote our city. Our bold new logo's graphic symbol is inspired by the idea of an infinity loop that speaks to the interconnectedness of our community, connections with each other, with our neighbors, and our history and heritage. The use of blue and green is a nod to our existing visual identity, but also suggests earth and sky to denote our connection with the land and the fact that we have access to abundant outdoor experiences. And it's dynamic and modern, which speaks to our optimism for the future. More literally, the graphic is a representation of a W for Wetaskiwin and an A for Alberta. And during focus testing, a member of the Four Nations of Musqueam also fittingly saw an M for Musqueam, so the graphic mark is intentionally open to interpretation. But the feeling it evokes is clearly welcoming. This is the logo of a city ready to become its best self and share the best of itself with the people we want to invite to become our neighbors, with the businesses we want to attract and help thrive here, and the visitors with whom we want to share memorable experiences. Wetaskiwin is the city we share. When you see our new graphic approach paired with images that reflect our commitment to bringing people together, to being welcoming and celebrating culture and heritage, and recognizing both where we come from and where we want to go, it just feels right for who we are and the place we're committed to becoming. The graphic approach is flexible and offers many fresh new ways for marketing Wetaskiwin. A new campaign for doing just that will launch this summer. The memories we create. Build a life on your terms. Wetaskiwin, the city we share. This billboard speaks to families that we want to attract to come and live here. And this billboard encourages tourists to explore the spectacular outdoor experiences our region offers from the comfort of our welcoming city. The land we explore. See the beauty that surrounds us. Wetaskiwin, the city we share. This poster at the Edmonton International Raceway will encourage their thousands of annual spectators to drive a little further down the road and experience what our city has to offer. The hospitality we deliver. Discover history, heritage, and natural beauty. Wetaskiwin, the city we share. Here's an example of how the resident recruitment message might be used in Facebook advertising. It's in our nature to welcome you. The memories we create. The city we share. With big city amenities and small town charm, Wetaskiwin is the best of both worlds. Because of the specific targeting ability of digital advertising, we can target prospective industries to create awareness of Wetaskiwin as a great place to build business success. The future we shape, the city we share. And of course, digital advertising will also be used to create awareness of Wetaskiwin as a tourism destination. The hospitality we deliver, the land we explore, the future we shape, the memories we create. Wetaskiwin, the city we share.
Wow. I've seen this presentation about 5 times now and I still get goosebumps. Thank you, McKim, for all your work on this and for journeying with us into the heart of our community. Well, there you have it, folks. That's how we will be promoting Wetaskiwin as a great place to live, work, do business, and visit. Any attending media representatives will find access to downloadable files in the URL in the news release, which should be in your inbox very shortly. We invite you to use them in your stories. For everyone here, we know it's a lot to take in. We look forward to seeing how our community digests it over the coming days and weeks. We'll begin the Q&A period in a few moments, but before we do, a few more important thank yous to everyone who worked on this exciting initiative. Thank you to Mayor Tyler Gandam and Wetaskiwin City Council, Sue Howard, Paul Edgington, Raylene Kofi, Candace Coughlin, Dr. Karen Aberly, each and every community visioning ambassador, the McKim communications team, Tangent Civic, and everyone else who played a role in the development of this new visual identity. That concludes our speaking program. We will now move into the Q&A and comments portion of the event. Looks like we have quite a bit of time for that. We're ahead of schedule. The panel answering your questions includes Mayor Gandam, Paul Edgington, Candace Coughlin, and Dr. Aberly from the Heritage Museum. As mentioned earlier, we have been taking questions and comments via the chat function, and I'm going to start reading them in order. If you haven't already done so, please send your remarks or questions through the chat function now, and we'll get them in. In the interest of both time and fairness, we ask that one preliminary question or comment be sent per person, with one follow-up question or comment if needed to wrap up. Again, please note that any questions we aren't able to answer today will be included in the FAQ section on our brand launch webpage at www.wetaskiwin.ca/we. First question is from Candace. She says, Paul, when are you moving to Wetaskiwin?
Classic Candace, and great question. I feel like I already live here, quite frankly. I mean, since I started here a year ago, I've got a lot of friends and, my Wetaskiwin family here at City Hall. So I feel like I'm here, I'm already part of the community, but never say never. In municipal government, generally we move to the communities that we work in, right? So keep an eye on me, folks. And again, on the lunch invitation, if anyone's hungry, I could start going for lunch about this week, or when things start opening.
Paul, the house across the street's for sale.
Good, excellent.
I also have a lot of yard work that needs to be done.
Yeah, the deal on yard work is I do that at my own house, so.
Well, thanks for your response, Paul. I see a bunch of comments. We've got from Kelly Rudick, be proud everyone, wow. Thank you, Kelly. From Tammy Nahorny, wow, this is awesome advertising for this welcoming, diverse city. Thank you very much. And Alison Scherer, thank you for sharing. I love the new campaign. I'm proud to be part of this community, and I hope this attracts others with the same sentiment. This is brilliant. Thank you so much for that support. A question I'd received through someone earlier, just given there aren't any other questions currently in the chat, was, again, why are we rebranding? So I'll just touch on this again briefly. We are rebranding the city to align our identity with the input of our community provided during the 50-year community visioning process. This new brand accurately reflects the essence and vision of our city as it is today, and as told by our community throughout that visioning process. So I think it's incredibly important and monumental for a city to align with the community's vision through its brand and help create that foundation moving forward. So anyone else, any questions? Oh, Julia Murphy has a comment. As a new employee with the City of Wetaskiwin, I am encouraged and proud to be a part of this new rebranding. It looks amazing. A lot of hard work has taken place, really impressive. Oh, thank you. And welcome to the team. Wow, well, we'll probably be wrapping up early then, before 1 o'clock, if we're not getting any questions. Another comment from Chess Ruth. I am proud to be a part of Wetaskiwin. We moved here on May 1st, and the first thing we noticed was the friendly and welcoming nature of everyone here. In the new logo, I actually see a white head and white open arms showing the welcoming aspect. Very interesting. Thank you, Chess. Again, as McKim Communications elaborated in the video, it is open to interpretation, and that's the beauty of the visual identity. So thank you. Anyone else have any questions? I'll give another minute or two, and if not, then I guess we'll wrap up our lunch hour.
can I interject without actually typing it in?
You bet.
I'm never going to be quiet. So for everybody out there, thanks for joining us, and all these things are good, but this really does come down to us now. So the city team's doing what they can, but we really have to get behind this and encourage it and be ambassadors for it. So can you, I know how I became an ambassador, but can we share the ways that other people can help me? Because I'm really busy and I can't do it alone.
Definitely. Mayor Gandam, you always have great ideas on this, so I'll ask you to chime in on this if you don't mind.
We'll just invite them to the Heritage Museum, and Karen can share all of her wonderful stories and how she can get involved. And they can start by volunteering there at the museum. And once they get their fill there, we'll move them throughout the community and make sure that they get a chance to experience all of what Wetaskiwin has to offer.
I don't let people go. One of the things I would say is go to, and they can probably type this in for you, but go to the What If Wetaskiwin launching page, because really it's a place to sort of look at it. You can sign up there to give some help and get some keywords, and really let's just do this.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dr. Eberly, and I definitely agree. I've put it in the chat, the URL to What If Wetaskiwin. So this online engagement platform was built around the results of the 50-year visioning. So if you want to learn how to help move our community forward, is familiarize yourself with the 50-year vision, and continually look for ways to engage and be involved and speak up. And if you want to see something happen in Wetaskiwin, start planning it, right? Like, be part of it. So that's kind of the be all and end all of that. Candace, I see you got something to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you are interested in being an ambassador, or you're wanting to participate more than you are right now, I would say reach out to myself or Ren or Karen or Tyler or Raylene or Paul and ask how you can do that. And we can brainstorm. There's maybe more ways than just even being an ambassador for the brand as well.
Great notation there, Candace. Thank you. Yes, definitely anyone who wants to be an ambassador is more than welcome to contact Candace or myself. I'll ask Raylene to put our emails in the chat function. And I do see a question from Kelly for Paul. Has the city team started thinking about alignment? Anything on the horizon? Paul?
Yeah, good question, Kelly. I know our senior administration, along with our leadership team, have been having conversations around how we can align the work that we do administratively to the community vision. So, at the top of that cycle would be, at the top would be the 50-year vision that was just presented. Then from that would be council strategic plan. This fall, as they get elected, those new members of council will be looking to the vision to say, where is the community looking to go? And as council, how can we support that? Where do we want to go? From there, administration every year would do a corporate business plan that aligns with council's direction as well as that vision. And then that comes to the community and to council in the forms of a budget, and then we report back on that. So, as far as how we live this vision moving forward, alignment is a huge piece of that. And I know that we are already starting to have those conversations and plans on how we align everything that we do, including the programs and services that we deliver. I think Mayor Gandam said it really well at the beginning, in that the community will continue to evolve. So as it evolves, how do we continue offering programs and services that are still relevant and provide value to the community as well? So I think how we move forward as administration will be that we absolutely live the vision, and the only way to do that is really to align and embed this all of this work into the processes that we take with us moving forward. So great question, Kelly, and kudos for asking it.
Great response, Paul, and thanks again for the questions, Kelly. Well, again, thank you, everyone. I don't see any other questions currently. I'm just having another peek here to make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't think so. So I would say that we have another 20 minutes to enjoy our lunch hours, and we'll conclude our virtual event. Thank you everyone for your questions and comments, and thank you to our speakers for your answers. There will be more information on the city's website at wetaskiwin.ca/we in the coming days about the new brand. Whether you've lived here all your life or you commute into Wetaskiwin for work, there is an unlimited richness and depth to our collective story. Thank you for celebrating Wetaskiwin with us as the city we share. Thank you.